Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and this is another video for the Windows Server Homelab series. We do have a playlist for Windows Server Homelab, and this is the 6th video. So if you are interested in installing Windows Server from scratch and doing some Homelab, please check out the playlist. So for this video, we will be implementing service account, and we will be using sysinternals tools, and also we will create some GPO for implementing service accounts. So since we have been creating user accounts in Active Directory, and we also talked about service accounts in the previous videos, we are going to be practicing our knowledge about service accounts in this video and implementing a simple hands-on so you can see what service account is used for, what's the purpose of it, and how to use it in a real-world setting. So we are going to be configuring a service account in here for a computer, and we will be using some sysinternal tools to help us with the setup. So just a disclaimer first, we are not going to use GMSA to manage our service accounts in here for simplicity. So I just wanted to show how service accounts can be used in the real world setting. So GMSA can be in another video, but it will not be discussed in this video. So just a quick review on what a service account is. So we have been creating accounts before in Active Directory, and a service account is different from a user account. A user account is created for a person to use, and a service account is not tied into a person or identified with a person or a user, but this is used for specific tasks and services, and it is not associated at all for human identity. So a service account can be used by a computer without human intervention because it can run the computer by itself without a human entering the credentials for the account. So that's mostly what a service account is for. And to better understand what the purpose of it, we are going to do a simple home lab for this video that will be implementing the use of service accounts. Okay, so for our home lab exercise for today, we are gonna create a computer that will display a program 24/7. So this computer should log in with a service account, so it doesn't need a human to enter the username or password just in case it reboots, for example. And usually this computer is just used for display. So to understand this concept better, think of Kiosk or all of those screens that you see in establishments, like in a restaurant, for example. Like the menu that you see in there, those are run by computers that run 24/7, or they're up for most of the day. And usually you don't see anything but the display in there. Okay, so disclaimer for this video, we are not going to be using the Windows Kiosk mode, though it is available to use. So if you are wondering if that's what we're going to use, we are not going to use that for this specific activity. I'm going to show you a different way on how to set up your computers to act like a kiosk mode or just do the display, just like I explained earlier. Kiosk mode is used for kiosk computers, basically, just like what you see in the picture in here. There are disadvantages, that's why we are not going to use it in this example, because the kiosk mode is very limited. Okay, so the disadvantages of using a Windows Kiosk mode is that first, it's only available on Windows 10 Education and Enterprise editions. So if your company uses Windows Pro, and if you have Windows Home, this is not available for you to use. Next is you can only provision Microsoft Store apps on kiosk mode. So the apps are very limited in there. And if you have different programs that you want to display or show on the screen, that is not available to use on kiosk mode. So unless you're using the calculator, Microsoft Edge, or other Microsoft proprietary apps, then this mode is very limited. Okay, so before you get started on the hands-on activity to implement service account on a single purpose computer, there are prerequisites to go in here. You should have all of this set up and installed first before doing this activity, because you won't be able to follow along if you don't have this yet. You should have Windows Server installed, Active Directory, domain services installed, especially Active Directory user and computer. You should have GPMC. You should have a Windows client, which is a Pro or Enterprise that is joined to the domain. You should have web browsers other than Microsoft Edge. you should already have created an Active Directory group for all employees, and you should have user accounts already created for this. Okay, so let's get started with our activity for today. So we are going to set up a single purpose computer, and the purpose for this is to display a specific web page. So it's just going to show on the screen a web page, and what we want to do is to set up or use a service account as login for this. The account should auto log in when computer was rebooted, so you don't have to enter credentials to it. It should automatically log in to the computer whenever it's rebooted. The web browser should start up automatically once logged in and in full screen mode. So if you want the computer to be back online and back up, especially if there's no keyboard and mouse attached, you should also set it up to start up with the program that you want automatically as well. Next is to set the computer to be always on. Of course, we don't want a computer or the screen to sleep every 5 minutes or so. We should always want to keep it online or on. We want to restrict log on for service account or for the specific computer. So we don't want anyone logging on to the computer. The service account should be the only account to log on to the computer. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to go to your Windows server, open Active Directory user and computer, and create your service account. So I created a separate OU for service account just to make it more organized. So under this OU for service account, let's right click and new and select user. Okay, so I am just gonna name it website login. So in naming service accounts, just make sure that you are naming it according to whatever task it's doing, so it's easier to recognize when you see it. And usually at work, what we do is to place a symbol in the beginning of the username, for example a $sign, so that we can also easily recognize and easy to search the account later on when there's thousands of service accounts that were created. So I'm just gonna type in my username here that I want. So I'm just gonna put website dash login here, and then click on next and just type in the password for it and uncheck this. Make sure to check this too, and then click on next and finish. Okay, so we have a website login account now, and this is gonna serve as our service account. And don't forget to type in the description, just best practice on what it does, for example, and you have your service account here. So the next thing you want to do is to go to your Windows client that was joined in the domain and enter your browser here, because what we're gonna do next is to download and install sysinternals tool. So just type it into your browser, sysinternals download. And what sysinternals is that it's a set of tools that was made by Microsoft to help you manage your computers. And this is really handy because there's a lot of tools there that you can use for free because it's a Microsoft product. So just download sysinternals here, and we have been using these tools to help us, troubleshoot, manage accounts and computers. This is really handy for IT professionals. So I'm not gonna go through all of the tools that we use in here because there's a lot, but we're just gonna use the ones that will help us implement this service account and this single purpose computer. So once you've downloaded it, just extract it. And then once you've downloaded it, you can also put it on your network folder so that all of IT can just use this tool, and it's easier for you to find it too. Everyone has access to it. Okay, so now that you have it downloaded, the next thing that we're gonna do is to set up auto logon for our service account once you have created it. So what we want to do is to use this tool called auto logon in here. So this automatically logs on your accounts. So let's click on auto logon here and just click on yes and agree. So this is where you're going to enter your service account that you just created in here. So make sure that you know the password for it as well. So this is going to be the username that you're going to enter in there. Website login. and then type in the domain in here, whatever the domain that you've set up for your server. And then next, of course, the password, and click on enable. And I think I might have a typo in here. I have a typo. Make sure you don't have any typos and click on enable. And once you see that there's no error message, it should say that it's successful. And then when you click on OK, let's see if this works now. So we can test it by rebooting our computer and see if it will log on automatically using that service account. Okay, so that was successful. That was really easy because we just used that tool and it did everything for us. All we had to do is to enter the credentials. So the next thing we want to do is to set up the browser that we want for the web page. So this is just an example, but I'm using Google Chrome because I really don't like Edge. So this is the web browser that I'm going to use. Feel free to use any browser that you want in here. So what we want to do is to set this up to start up with this page. So just go to the settings of the browser, and then on startup we want to open a specific page. So I'm just gonna add a new page and put the URL in here and add. So let's test it. If I reopen Google, let's see if it opens right away. So, okay, that's really good. What we want to do next is to open this in full screen mode. So it'll look prettier and more professional. Right now, it's not doing that, and you have to manually maximize it or go to full screen. So make sure that your program shortcut is on a desktop. So you can right click and go to properties, and then go to the end of the target line in here where the path is, and type this in -start -full screen, no spaces in between. Click on apply, click on OK, and see if it works. Okay, so it should automatically open in full screen mode now. So that's what we want. And the next is for it to open this program right away when the computer reboots. So the easiest way to do that is to press the Windows button and R for run, and then type in shell startup, and then this window should open. So this is where you can put all the programs that you want to show up during startup. So this will open automatically. So I'm just gonna move the Google Chrome in here. So it should just open automatically after logging in. And then after that, the next thing we want to do is to keep it on all the time, because this might be sleeping in the next 5 or 10 minutes and we don't want that. So what you want to do is to type in sleep in the search, and then just select never for the options here, because it will sleep after 10 minutes. Alright, so let's test it if this is working. So let's reboot it again. Okay, so I didn't have to do anything. It just opened by itself on startup, and it was already maximized. So if you are setting up computers just like this that should be in kiosk mode, then this is what you can do for it. And you can also practice this on your Homelab. So what you want to do is to go back to your server, and then you can do this for shortcut, Windows R. So I'm just going to go to my domain and create a group policy, a new group policy in here that I'm going to call restrict logon to service account, for example. Okay, so let's right click on that so we can edit. And then since this is going to be for a computer, we don't want anybody else to log on to the computer itself. We are going to do a computer configuration in here We want it to be under policies because we don't want it to change. We want to enforce this. And we want to go to Windows settings because that's where we can see the security settings for this. And then just expand this until you find the local policies in here, which you can find the user rights assignments. So if you click on user rights assignments, there's a lot of policies in here that you can use for access, especially user accounts. So here we can allow logon locally if you want, or deny logon locally. So for this, explicitly, because I said that we want to restrict other users, just a service account. So what we want to do is to use this deny logon locally and just deny all of the standard users to log on to that computer. So before we edit this GPO, make sure that you have a group for all users. So it'll be easier to add that group instead of adding all of the users you created in this. Okay, so let's just check in here. Make sure that you already have a group for all users or all employees. So it's gonna look like this. It should be a security group, and when you click on it, check on the members, you should have all of the different departments in here or the different user accounts that you have created. Make sure that you also have a user account that you can test on later that is under the membership of all employees or all users. Okay, so let's go back to our group policy. So let's now enable deny logon locally. So just double click on it. Click on define these policy settings and add user or group. So let's browse on what the user and groups that we want. So that's why we put symbol in front of it, because it's easier to search than going through all of the list of the accounts that we have in here. So I use the symbol # for the groups. So when I check on names, it's easier for me to go through all the list because it's recognizable. So I'm just gonna add all employees because that's what we want to deny to log on. So just click on OK and apply in here. Okay, so as you can see in here, we have a policy setting now to deny logon locally by all employees. So we have configured our policy. So let's go back to GPMC. So we can apply this GPO that we created. So we are gonna move this to the computers because we created a computer configuration. So let's just move it there. Okay, so as you can see, now we have a GPO in there. So next is, of course, you know what to do next. We have to force the GPO in here. So let's just do a GPO update. Okay, so let's test our GPO by trying to log in as another user. So I'm just gonna switch user in here and okay, so as you can see, it says here that we are not allowed to log in. It didn't say that username password is incorrect. So this means that our GPO worked and it's restricting different logons. So only service accounts can log on to this computer. So that would be it for today's video. I hope that you learned something. If you have questions, please feel free to ask in the comment section down below. And I hope to see you guys in the next video in this series. Thank you so much for watching.